Aloha, and welcome to the final part of the Macuahuitl version 2 build. Uh, this piece has been a lot of fun. I've been really happy with it. There's some of the design changes and differences from the first revision that I made, kind of all the culmination of that, and so it's been a real pleasure to work on. I'm actually kind of sad to see it go. If you're seeing this video for the first time, if you haven't seen the part 1, I recommend go watching it. It's the first part of the build. Um, just to give you a quick review of what this piece is, it is a combination piece between a Mesoamerican traditional weapon, the Macuahuitl, which is a Mayan weapon. Similar weapons were also found in Aztec as well, and the Hawaiian leomano. So the Hawaiian leomano is a paddle with shark teeth that go around the outer edge. And the Macuahuitl is similar. It's actually a paddles type weapon, but with obsidian blades that go around the edges. The primary difference is the Macuahuitl is usually a larger weapon, and it's not uncommonly referenced as like the Mesoamerican greatsword because of how it was wielded. It was wielded like a sword. The combination piece here is going to be made, or is being made, out of Hawaiian koa wood, is the centerpiece, and then rather than using obsidian blades, I'm using shark teeth, both modern shark and fossilized. So the fossilized shark teeth are megalodon teeth, and the modern are modern bull shark teeth. And then I'm going to be putting in pearl inlay. These are solid pearl that I shaped down to triangles. The reason for that is the Hawaiian pattern. So triangles in Hawaiian are representative of shark teeth. And in different patterns and orientations, they mean different things. This specific pattern refers to strength and bravery and family lineage. And so I'm going to be putting this in there, and then I'm using a mixture between black and white pearl, just because it flows well with the piece. You can kind of see there's two different colors of grain in the wood. There's going to be an offset in the colors of the teeth, and so everything just kind of flows. And so for that reason, I'm using an offset in the black and white mother of pearl. I do want to take a minute. If you're enjoying the video, if you've seen it before, if you've been on my channel before and you like what you see, please leave a like. It really helps out a lot. A small channel, and the likes really help it get more audience. I greatly appreciate it. If you don't like it, if you'd like to see something else, just let me know. I'd love to hear you in the comments. Anything else you'd like to see, or if there's something that you thought could be better. I'm really enjoying sharing my art, and I want to do it in a way that is entertaining. So definitely leave comments and just let me know, and I'll do what I can. What I'm doing here is I'm just using my chisels to cut in the inlays. So these are going to be inlays versus an inset. The difference between the two is an inlay is usually flush with the surrounding material, and then an inset usually sticks out, and so it has more of a 3D or three-dimensional view. So these will be inlays, so when you run your hand across it, it'll be for the most part flush. Originally what I did is I drew out, which is, you can see there, the triangles. I've got a center line and some triangles, and as I started putting in the first couple pieces, I noticed that when I drew it out, I was just way off. So instead of drawing them out, or instead of just blindly following the draw that I did, instead I'm just doing it piece at a time, and then using my X-Acto knife to cut in the edge work, and then from there I just take my chisel, cut in make the edges more defined with the chisel, and then chisel it out. I'm using a quarter-inch chisel and a half-inch chisel to cut in each one of those pieces. The pearl corners there are just solid pearl. I shaped them down to triangles. If you're interested in seeing what I did there, that's in my first video. All I'm doing here is I'm doing both sides first, and then I'm going to go back and I'm going to glue them in. I actually made a stupid mistake, and you'll see that here in just a little bit. I shouldn't have done it, but I'm still irritated over it. But before I get to that, so the reason why I'm using my chisel set rather than using my Dremel, I use a Dremel for most things, is I wanted cleaner edges, and I'm not as confident on getting those clean edges on a Dremel as I am with the chisel set. Um, I've seen some unbelievably talented artists that do just some great work, beautiful work using a regular Dremel, and they do a really good job. Unfortunately, I don't. So I'm going to be using a mixture of clear epoxy and super glue, just depending on the piece. Some of them I cut out a little large, and so I put in epoxy to fill in the edges. Others were a perfect fit, and I just used super glue to make sure that they wouldn't fall out. You'll notice that I'm kind of tapping on it with the dead blow hammer, just a little bit to get in there. That third one right there, the one I just did, I broke it. And the reason why it broke, and it was 100% my fault, is when I chiseled out that corner, that triangle, I didn't quite finish it, and I forgot about that. So it wasn't quite large enough. And when I went to put it in the triangle, it wasn't gonna fit, and I knew it. But I was like, meh, I'll give it a try, yeah. And so I started pounding on it, and sure enough, it just crushed it. I was like, ah, oh, dang it. So I went and grabbed my pieces that I have left over, and I just happened to have one that was big enough. Of all the pieces that I had, there was literally one that was big enough to fit in this section. And so I got really lucky. If I didn't have that one piece, or if I broke it again, it'd probably be another 4 or 5 days before I could finish it, just waiting on new material. So, it's always better to take your time, do the work up front, than it is to mess up and then have to fix it after. Um, I don't know. I feel like I relearn that lesson every couple months with various processes. It's always better to take a little bit more time up front and just save an enormous amount of time in the back. So you can see that's what I'm doing here. Is this last piece here is also not quite there. It was still a little bit tighter than I wanted it to be, and so I just cleaned up that edge and got that inset. So the last step here with the inlay, not inset, I'm sorry, with the inlay, is I'm just going to be sanding it down. So I'd previously sanded the whole piece down to 220. Now I'm going to be sanding the entire thing down to 320. And then once I have it sanded down to 320 is when I'm going to go and put in the teeth. Once I get to 320, sometimes I take it past 320, sometimes I leave it at 320. It kind of depends on the piece and the overall goal of the piece. This one I'll probably end up leaving at 320. But once I get it to 320 is where I'm very careful with all of my edge work. So it's hard to see, but all of the different fine edges and angles, I true them up once I get to 320 grit. And then any grit after that, I'm just keeping extra careful not to flatten those edges. So the teeth here, you can see I've got Megalodon, are the darker teeth, and then the modern bull shark are the wider teeth. What's funny is that these are small Megalodons. I mean, the two ones at the end are larger, but they're still not big. They're still small. You've probably seen pictures of Megalodon teeth that are the size of your hand. They get massive. And what's funny is those bull shark are not small bull shark teeth. Those are 1-inch bulls, which are pretty large bull shark teeth. They do get larger, but not by much. And so just the contrast in size, you've got small Megalodon that dwarf the large modern bull shark. Oh man, imagine seeing that thing in the ocean. That'd be terrifying. I have had people ask me if these Megalodon teeth were used traditionally in weapons. As far as I'm aware, no. And I think the main reason for that is just access. Hawaiians didn't have access. You don't really find too many in the Hawaiian Islands. In Mesoamerica, they primarily used obsidian. It's just a better material for cutting. Not as robust, I think. I think the fossilized shark teeth are quite a bit stronger, not as brittle, but definitely not as sharp. The obsidian blades, when chipped, can be just unbelievably sharp. And so as far as I'm aware, they weren't regularly used, so me implementing them into this piece is definitely some creative choice there. That being said, the Hawaiians were very good at using resources, so if they had it, they probably would have. One of the things that I did here is rather than lashing, because that's not how Macuahuitls are made, they're usually made with epoxy, is I used a really slow setting epoxy. The first piece that I made, I kind of made a mistake on it, and I used a 5-minute epoxy, and it started to set on me before I even finished putting in all the teeth. And so this time I used a really slow setting. It takes, I think it was, it's a 12-hour cure or something like that. Um, and that just gave me plenty of time to make sure that everything was square and in place, um, and so the way that I wanted it. The last step, once I have the teeth in place, you already saw me sand off some of the excess epoxy there. Last thing is to clean off the teeth. So you get excess epoxy on the teeth, and so I'm using just a wire brush. You have to be careful though, the wire brush will fling out wires, um, and they hurt. So you want to make sure you wear safety glasses, any type of protective clothing, because they will fly into your face. They hit my cheek all the time, bounce off my safety glasses all the time. This is one of the final steps and my favorite. I love applying oil. So the oil that I use is tung oil. It is not a stain. Um, I don't stain any of my pieces. The oil really just brings out the natural grain of the wood. And koa wood, the Hawaiian koa wood, is just absolutely beautiful. Now this piece here is a curly koa, so you can see the natural curl that go along the entirety of the piece, like those crossed lines, almost like waves, like very small ripples along the piece. Um, a lot of different hardwoods will have koa wood in, or will have curl in it. Koa just frequently does. Um, And on this piece, it was just so prevalent, along with the contrast between the light wood, which is a heartwood, and the dark wood. Oh, I'm sorry, inverse. Light wood is an edge wood, and the dark wood is a heartwood. The differences between the two is your edge wood, your light wood, the edge wood is on the outer edges of the tree, right before the bark, and then the heartwood is the inner side of the tree. And the contrast there is just, oh man, look at that. Beautiful. Oh, I just absolutely love this piece. I like it better than my first one. So I'm a little bit sad to see it go because it was well, my first one was I made it for myself. This one was a commission piece, so this one is I'm gonna be sending it out. But it was an absolutely beautiful piece. It was a pleasure to work on. I almost didn't want to lash the handle just because of the grain was so beautiful. But staying true to the traditional piece, I felt like I needed to. What I did here is I just took my wax covered string and I twisted it into a 4-ply. So it's a 4-ply and then that's wrapped around the handle with occasional knotting so it won't come undone. And it just makes for a really stout handle. So here's the final piece. Oh man, I just love this piece. I love the design. It takes quite a bit longer than some of my other pieces, which at the end it almost looks surprising because it's kind of a simpler design, but I love it. It is just a beast of a piece. You can really see the highlight between the edgewood and the heartwood. You can see the curl running down the center. There's some good curl there on the heartwood. Um, the contrast in colors, the contrast from the modern bull shark to traditional, I just loved it. And of course, like all of my pieces, I will definitely be testing this one. So let's give that a shot. Here's one final look at it. You can really see the curl here. So you see those ripples that just go down the piece. Oh, I just love looking at curl. I love wood, just the grain of natural wood and how it looks. Love it. So let's take some hits here. So I was a little bit nervous with the piece because I don't have any spare fossilized megalodon, so I wasn't hitting at full strength. But even at partial strength, I was still gouging those teeth into the ballistics gel. I mean, a good probably 1 to 2 inches for both of these strikes. I did flip it, so I tried one on one side and one on the other side, and then I did a final hit where I kind of did a slicing hit. You can see that, I mean, maybe 40 to 50% strength there, and it still gouged right in. And then I hit this with about 60%, and it cut a good 2-inch gouge straight into the corner of the ballistics gel. Just gnarly. Love it. Well, mahalo. Thank you for watching. Very grateful, and I'll see you next time. Aloha.